Right, viewers, let's start our bulletin with the biggest story of the day. Row has erupted over Maldivian MP's derogatory jibe against India on social media. Now, this has escalated into a full-blown diplomatic row between the two countries. In fact, it all started when Zahid Ramiz, a member of the Progressive Party of Maldives Senate, mocked the beaches of Lakshadweep Island and said that the odor and the smell in the hotel rooms in India will be the biggest issue for tourists. He also questioned if India can match what Maldives has to offer as terms of tourism. In fact, the timing of the unwarranted remark was interesting. It came after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the Lakshadweep and also the social media pictures that were going viral. As per sources, the Indian government, after this entire controversy came up, raked up the issue with the Maldivian authorities, and soon after this, Maldives even put out an official statement calling the derogatory remarks a personal opinion and something that was not represented by the government. In fact, Youth Ministry Deputy Ministers Malsha Sharif and Mariyam Shiuna and also the Transport Ministry Deputy Minister Hassan Zihan have been suspended from their posts for making remarks on social media platform mocking Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So these are the actions that have been taken by the Maldivian government as far as this particular statement is concerned. So on one hand, the controversy has erupted, and on the other hand, Maldives have now swiftly acted given how big this is becoming in India and also the scale of the response that is coming in as far as Indian celebrities are concerned. Right. Also, Maldives has been a popular tourist destination for Indians, and some of the credit also goes to Bollywood celebrities for hyping it up on social media. But with the escalating controversy, B-Town celebs have taken a firm stance. Stars like Salman Khan, Akshay Kumar, and also Kangana Ranaut have put out various posts on social media platforms. While Salman Khan backed Lakshadweep tourism given Prime Minister Modi's visit, Akshay Kumar has hit back at the unprovoked hate and racist remarks against India. Now, Kangana Ranaut, her reaction has also been a little more aggressive, with the actress pointing out that the majority of the Lakshadweep belongs to a particular community and any sort of a statement will be a statement against us. Now we'll be talking about this. We will be discussing this issue. This has of course been the biggest story today. The diplomatic row that is now escalating, and of course the Maldivian authorities have tried to play it down. But to discuss more on this and also to help us understand what this means for India, India's strategic interests, and also the tourism in India, joining me on the broadcast is Mr. Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti, who is a former secretary at the Ministry of External Affairs, and also Mr. Subhash Goel, the chairman Aviation, Tourism and Hospitality of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. This is, of course, a very, very important issue for India. The political leadership in Maldives has seen
Thank
a
you.
seesawing time and again battle as far as the political ideology is concerned. In Maldives, sometimes it is India first, and on the other hand, the next government comes out and says India out. In fact, as far as the current scenario is concerned, the current president, Mohamed Nasheed, has made his inclination towards the India out narrative pretty clear. Mr. Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti, my first question to you is, President Moizu being anti-India is of course a problem, and that India has been dealing for a while now. But the bigger problem is him being pro-China. And also this is big problem for India because Maldives is strategically very important, and also any sort of a statement or any sort of a reaction like this coming in is something that India has to monitor very closely.
Well, we do monitor activities in our immediate neighborhood, and China's footprint is certainly monitored in every country. And wherever possible, we take countermeasures. And yes, it's Maldives has flipped from one extreme to the other, if you can say that. That today it is now trying to tell us that India out, and it wants to lean towards China, etc. Look, these are sometimes political, games that some of these smaller countries play. It is welcome to follow its own policy, but then it has to assess what harm it will cause to the country. And that is what I think is important. And clearly they think that the statements by these very foolish statements, I would say, by these people, they are, of course, motivated by, as you can see from the two pictures and the three pictures, that they are motivated by perhaps some religious bigotry also here. sorry to say this, but it seems to me that that is also an element in this kind of statement. And if they want to, belittle China, belittle India, insult India, they can do it, but there will be repercussions, and they must understand that. I think the statement they have issued, the government obviously takes that into account because it has now suspended these people and says that the government doesn't subscribe. This is a personal view. But even if it is a personal view coming from ministers, it's a very serious matter.
Right, Mr. Chakravarti, that is, of course, one point of view there, strategic importance of the Maldives, and also given the fact that there is a lot of Chinese presence also that India needs to monitor. But while Maldives is important for India, India is also important for the Maldives. And this, of course, is in terms of tourism. I'll just ask my team there to play out the graphics of what tourism industry in Maldives looks like and how India contributes to it. In fact, in 2023, the highest number of tourists in Maldives were from India. 2.09 lakh Indians visited Maldives in just 1 year. Mr. Subhash Goel, you're of course an expert in the sector. Maldives' economy is dependent on tourism, and India right now, with all the statements coming in, looks like is hurting Maldives where it hurts the most with the push for Lakshadweep, because ecologically Lakshadweep is just as beautiful, and while there might not be just as many facilities, it will of course develop as tourists come in. Now, this will, of course, not just pull Indian tourists out of Maldives, but it will also lure foreign tourists away from Maldives. Help us understand the tourism industry as far as Maldives is concerned, and also how much of an important India's role is in the Maldives.
During COVID-19 and immediately after COVID-19, Indian tourists contributed more than $1 billion to the economy of Maldives. And I think it's a very short-sighted view of some politicians who think they can do away with India. I think India should do tit for tat. We should make an advisory against traveling to Maldives because it's not safe now. With Chinese influence, anything can happen in that island. And there are a lot of alternatives. Definitely Lakshadweep is much better. The water sports, the marine life, the undersea, life is much better than Maldives. But unfortunately, Lakshadweep's island or Lakshadweep has not been marketed, and the two resorts which were there, Bangadeep Island and Agani resort, are lying closed. So government should do something to subsidize those resorts and restart them. Right. There are only flight from Cochin to Agathi Islands is there. Now, under the Udan scheme, we should immediately, allow or motivate other airlines like, Vistara, Air India, Indigo, SpiceJet to start flights under the Udan scheme. Let government subsidize to this, so that if there is more connectivity, then definitely Lakshadweep is a much better choice. It's only about 22 kilometers from Cochin, and there are 39 islands which can all be developed. And plus, if we have an advisory against Maldives, their tourism economy will come to a standstill, because there are a lot of alternatives. Apart from Lakshadweep, which the Prime Minister went and promoted, once the connectivity is there and the accommodation is there, it can then replace Maldives. But alternatively, we have Andaman Nicobar Islands, which have a lot of connectivity and also a lot of this. Sri Lanka, which is now a friendly country, has much better beaches or equally good beaches than Maldives. So I think we must, and we must stop our Indian carriers which are flying to Maldives. We should suspend their traffic rights so that, they know the
Now, Mr. Goel, I'll take that point across to Mr. Chakravarti, who's also carefully listening to you. Mr. Chakravarti, how do you react to Mr. Goel's suggestion there? Mr. Goel says there should be some sort of an advisory issued so that the tourists from India pull out. Do you think that would be a knee-jerk reaction given the fact that while on one hand, one of the political parties is talking about India out, which is the current political party, there is also another alternate political party which when comes to power is pretty close to in India. Of course, we're talking about this party and what they're saying, but also we are also tracking reactions that are coming in from the opposition party in the Maldives, and they are of the opinion that India has been very critical for the growth of Maldives, and this sort of a reaction on these sort of a statements should not be coming in as far as India is concerned. So do you think India should come out with a serious action, something like this, or should we just wait and watch and prepare just for the time when the other party comes to power, as it has been happening, like it's a seesaw battle that's going on there?
Well, India is the larger country and clearly has the staying power much more than Maldives. And I don't think India is going to take any action that smacks of, what shall I say, that off the cuff. I don't think India is going to do that. India's foreign policy is not based on, sentimentality or, some kind of, as you said, knee-jerk reaction, etc. I doubt if India is going to issue the kind of advisory that my colleague in the panel has been saying, or make a very bold public kind of statement to stop tourists going to India, cancel. No, I don't think those kind of things are going to happen. But we will assess the kind of leverage that
But
India
this is what the
has.
Western world does. They
Has a lot
do
of
issue advisories against India.
Sorry?
Right. Mr. Goel has a point there.
Hello?
Mr. Goel has a point there. Mr. Goel, you were saying something.
No, let me finish. Then Mr.
No, what
Goel
I'm
can
saying
have it.
is, what I'm saying, sir,
I
is
don't want to be
that
interrupted, please.
yeah.
Can I just
Right.
finish?
Mr. Goel, we'll just have Mr. Chakravarti make his point. Mr. Chakravarti, you carry on.
Well, when something very serious happens, I mean, it happened with Canada, for example, and we did stop issuing visas and all that. But that's each country is different, and our reaction will be different. That is all I am trying to say. So I wouldn't jump to any conclusion or that government of India should do this or should do that. Government of India will use its influence and leverage in the manner it deems fit. Canada is very, very far away.
Right. So you're saying
India's
India's foreign policy, India's diplomacy is different. We are not the kind that go with sentimentality. We don't issue such knee-jerk reactions.
तो आप बोल दीजिए आपको.
Right. Right, Mr. Chakravarti. That is the point Mr. Goel wants to respond to. Mr. Goel, you were saying something about advisories being issued for other countries. We will talk about that as well in the future. But also you were talking about
that we should not take a knee-jerk reaction.
Right, go on.
But at the same time, we should send a message that no one can mess around with the new India under Prime Minister Modi. You see, a lot of Western countries, even whatever little thing happens, they give an advisory and they forbid or advise their nationals not to travel to Kashmir, not to travel to this place, not to travel to that place in India. So if these Western countries can do that, why can't we issue just a polite advisory? I'm not saying you go with your warships or anything. All that I'm saying is, they are dependent on a lot on the Indian tourists. So we should say that till the situation is not conducive and there is anti-India feeling, we should avoid going to Maldives. That's all. I think there is no harm in making this statement.
All right.
This is my personal opinion.
All right. All right, so that's the point Mr. Goel is making. I'll just take it across to Mr. Chakravarti. Sorry, I had to interject you before. But I think the point that Mr. Goel is making is that this is not just one isolated incident. It has been a growing concern. Now, the current regime earlier asked the Indian troops to be pulled out of Maldives. They've also decided to not renew the agreement with India that allowed India to conduct the hydrographic surveys in the Maldivian waters. So again, this is in a way, if Mr. Goel, I think that's the point he's trying to make, that this is raising fears of the Maldives emerging as a pit stop for China in the Indian Ocean.
Well, Maldives has a very strategic location in the Indian Ocean. Nobody doubts that. And that is one of our considerations why we have to deal with Maldives in a strategic manner. But to but Maldives is also in our neighborhood. That has to be remembered. And and the strategic location of Maldives is important. So we cannot, fire all our guns, come out firing all guns at the Maldives and destroy the relationship, whatever remains. I mean, it's not that there is no relationship. There is a relationship. They have won on the elections were won on a particular platter. They have used the anti-Indian slogans to win the election. And hence they think that they can carry on with some of this. But they will soon realize that sloganeering and posturing during an election is different from the reality of international politics, geopolitics, and the relations with India. I don't think that is they are going to this is a one-off thing. I don't think they are going to carry on saying these kind of things, because the unfortunate thing is that if they do so, then we will have to take cognizance, and we will have to interpret it that this is a very, very carefully calibrated government-backed kind of statements that are coming through the mouths of certain ministers and others. And then the government promptly says that they are suspended, but this is not supported by the government. So they are playing this game. We are used to this game. We know this game very well, and we will wait and watch, I think. I don't think at this time there is any need to jump off the cliff with certain drastic steps.
Right, right. Mr. Chakravarti, you're talking about the suspensions. In fact, Zahid Ramiz, the person who actually went ahead and came out with this sort of a statement which actually triggered the entire storm, he has not been suspended. There are three other people, three other ministers who had also joined the bandwagon. They have been suspended. So again, clearly there, the message right out there for the Indian government that yes, any sort of a statement that comes out that could have potential ramifications, that will be curtailed. But again, the politics of the day stays, and the regime is focused on the politics. And again, we are talking about China, we are talking about the regional politics, all of that playing a part, and we'll of course keep a very close eye on that. But Mr. Goel was talking about tourism. Mr. Goel, you were talking about Lakshadweep being an alternative, but let's face it, Maldives is much more developed. Right now, it has the infrastructure that Lakshadweep does not have. So while the focus of the government to push for Lakshadweep is good, how long do you think before Lakshadweep actually becomes a viable alternative for people who are now going to the Maldives? Because yes, the government push is very important, the focus is very important, but also there needs to be the facility also that Maldives already is offering.
Two things which are needed to develop Lakshadweep. One is air connectivity. Second is infrastructure.
Right.
Both are lacking right now in Lakshadweep. So it will take at least 1 or 2 years. It can be slightly more. That is if the government and the private sector work together to develop the infrastructure, and government subsidizes, under the Udan scheme, flights and motivates the airlines to start flying to Lakshadweep. But there are alternatives to this. Sri Lanka is an alternative. Andaman Nicobar is an existing alternative where there is air connectivity as well as there is a lot of, infrastructure. So let us divert our tourists. At least I'm going to request in the various groups that are there that stop selling Maldives and try to divert passengers to Andaman Nicobar Island, and Lakshadweep. But Lakshadweep, we need to immediately get the two big resorts that are lying close to restart, and we need to immediately develop infrastructure. These are the two things that are needed immediately, and once they are done, then Lakshadweep is much more beautiful, much better, less polluted than Maldives is concerned. And we can also start some seaplane services which are there in Maldives and it's not there in Lakshadweep. So Lakshadweep has a huge potential for development, but probably this behavior of Maldives politicians could be a blessing in disguise for the development of Lakshadweep.
Right, Mr. Goel, very interesting points that you're making there. While we should be supportive of an Indian destination which is equally blessed when it comes to nature, we should also be focusing on developing it. Before we wrap up this discussion, my last question to Mr. Chakravarti. Mr. Chakravarti, India again has been, like you said, strategically very focused on Maldives, given how China is also very focused when it comes to their string of pearls scheme as well. India, since many, many years, has been pumping out billions of dollars as far as Maldives is concerned. India has also been very helpful to Maldives in terms of when it even came to COVID vaccines. India was also there for Maldives on various occasions. And again, we have many agreements with the Maldives, which by and large help Maldives more than they help India. So again, at the end of the day, how do you see this relationship between Maldives playing out? Because at least for the next few years now, this is the regime that India has to deal with. And one only hopes that they do not do some sort of an irreparable damage as far as India and Maldives relations are concerned.
Well, as I said, we'll have to wait and see where they really go. And then we will have to think of our policy measures that we will have to take, which they know what it's going to be. I don't think they are unfamiliar with what could happen if they really take a very anti-Indian posturing and that kind of thing. The consequences for them will not be good. They know that. But I think at the moment they are just out of the election, their new government, so they are doing a lot of posturing, thinking that by doing all this, they will send signals to China that that we are with you, and we will. You are again welcome here. But then that will have repercussions not just from India. It will have repercussions from all the nations who are interested in the Indian Ocean. Don't forget, the Americans have a base in Diego Garcia, and they will be, in fact, if I'm not incorrect, the Secretary of State of the USA spoke yesterday to the Foreign Minister of Maldives. I don't know what they talked about, but I'm sure this would be one of the considerations, and that would have figured in those talks.
Right. Right. Mr. Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. Also, Mr. Subhash Goel, appreciate you joining us here for this very, very important discussion. Of course, our focus will continue to be on Maldives and India. And one only hopes, like Mr. Chakravarti has also pointed out, that this is just the new government that's come in, regional politics that's playing out, like it is also playing out in Canada. And there are no long-term ramifications that could affect India-Maldives relations. Of course, we'll keep a very close eye on that and we'll keep bringing you all the latest updates. In fact,